Hello, everyone. This is Instructor Poole, and I want to take a few minutes to talk about this week's readings and assignments. We are in week 2 of our course, and as always, you can find the week's readings and assignments by clicking on our calendar in the Start Here module. Scroll down to week 2 and you will see our learning materials. Those are this week's readings. And you'll see our grading assignments. That AT1 and AT2 that you see beside the assignments there, that just means that this is this week's attendance assignment, essentially. So we have 2 assignments this week. We have 2 attendance items per week. So both of them count as one of this week's attendance assignments. So the learning materials for this week are a series of chapter readings from the Bedford Bookshelf. These are things about the elements of fiction, terms like plot, character, theme that will become important to our study of literary analysis. So the main takeaways from this week's readings, and I'll show you where to find those in just a minute, is that I want you to just get a good sense of what literary analysis means. What does it mean when we analyze literature? That's important because that will be the basis of our first essay down the road in a few weeks. So there's an introduction to literary analysis here. There's another handout about what literary analysis means. And then there's something called Digging Deeper, which is basically about how to think about and how to kind of get deeper into the literature in order to analyze it. The elements of fiction that you see here, this is a chapter from Reading and Writing About Literature, which is another book on the Bedford Bookshelf that you have access to through Slingshot. What's important about that is that's where the list of terms are. You're going to want to know those terms pretty well for a couple of reasons. One is they're just important to be able to understand how to analyze literature. But in the short term, you're going to be using those fictions those elements of fiction, those terms in this week's assignments. There are also 3 short stories listed here in this week's readings as well. What you want to do is to read those 3 stories. What I'd suggest doing is just read those 3 stories before you read the chapter readings here. Choose which one of those stories maybe you want to work with, and then engage with the chapter readings before you go back and do a secondary reading of one of the stories, during which you'll be working toward one of this week's 2 assignments. You can find all of that in our content area in the week 2 content. Here are the readings that are listed for this week. This is a good time to make sure that you have everything squared away when it comes to logging into Slingshot and accessing our textbooks. At this point in the semester, you should have all that ironed out. Sometimes there are some bugs with that, so let me know if you're having problems with that, and I'll point you in the right direction for getting that fixed. We talked about this elements of fiction reading. These are the terms that you'll want to be familiar with for this week's assignments. The 3 stories that we have listed are also here in this week's assignments as well. And there are some guidelines about discussion posts, which I'll let you read at your leisure. We have 2 assignments this week. The first one you can find by clicking on the Assignments tab, and it's this Elements of Fiction sketch notes assignment. So before you begin, watch the video that's linked here. This will take you to a YouTube video about sketchnoting, and it goes into much more detail than I can here, but essentially that's just a term that means taking notes in kind of an unconventional way, not limiting yourself to words, but you can, make connections, drawing lines to connect ideas. You can doodle and draw images that help you with this week's assignments as well. Um, so what you'll want to do is to just take notes on any and all of this week's readings in this sketch note style, and then upload that here as is explained in the assignment. The other assignment this week is a discussion post, our first one of the semester. You can find it by clicking on the discussions tab. This is a two-part post. The initial part of it is this week. This week, due by Friday, is the written part of the post. Sorry, y'all. These dates here that you see on the screen are incorrect. Obviously, I've gone ahead. I went back and changed those the in the calendar and in the on the actual assignments themselves, but I need to go back in and change them in the text of the assignment. So you can ignore these for now. This one's due this coming Friday, obviously. The written part of the post that's due this week is explained here. This is where you're just essentially going to start thinking about the story that you've chosen and applying what you've learned about those elements of fiction to the story as well. Next week, you will be crafting a response to one of your peers' posts, and that should be in the form of a video, which I will show you how to do here. So what you're going to do is you are going to I just click start a new post. You'll actually reply to someone's post and do this, but it'll bring up the same set of options. And you're going to record a video. You can just like record a video on your phone and do it that way and upload it that way. Sometimes there are some problems with that, like if the file is too big, D2L Brightspace won't allow you to upload it and things like that. So what I suggest you do instead is to have your webcam ready and just click record a webcam video and record it this way. It's going to tell you that you have up to 30 seconds, but you can go way beyond that. So just once you're done recording, you can just add the video as well. So this week, you do the written part of your post. Next week, you're going to be responding via video to someone else's post. And I'll talk a little bit more about that next week. If you have any questions about that in the meantime, as always, feel free to reach out.